What is up, Ravens Flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host, the one and only Glenn Martin.
Nice.
You like that introduction?
I do. I'm not mad at it.
We're excited to talk about Rashod Bateman. We obviously did the live session. We've done some instant reaction videos, but here we're going to grade out the pick, give a little bit more of some in-depth analysis based on now we've been able to take a breath, take a step back, look into and watch some additional tape now that we know he is a Raven, invest a little bit more time watching tape and give you our conclusions. Yep. So there's a couple, we're going to go over a couple things, but he made it clear at his pro day and reinforced it in his press conference. He's 6'1", 190. But before you get into some of your notes, there's a couple things just in general that I want to mention. He seems really excited to play for the Ravens. Now, when you're a rookie, you're going to say all the right things, but I also think that truth always finds a way to bleed through one way or another. So he seems genuinely excited about this offense. He seems genuinely excited about Lamar Jackson. And this is the most important thing to me, Glenn. And I'll let you get in here after I say this. But he said that he's everyone wants to be a number one, but he's excited to do whatever his role is. Yep. And that's true maturity for a guy that's been an alpha his entire career to be able to say that. Now we'll hope that stays the case as he comes in the NFL and grows into who he is. And heck, we want him to be our number one, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I thought that I took those things away, at least from his presser, that I really liked off the bat.
Yeah, and I think he showed that with how he performed at Minnesota, because he was a guy that in 2019 did a lot from the outside, and then was asked to do a lot in the slot position, and he rose to the occasion there and showed the versatility, showed that he can be a guy that you can line up on the outside or in the slot, and he can get it done from both spots. And also, Jimmy, I got to give you a little credit. When we did our first round mock, you did mock.
I did
Bateman at number 27, so I got to give you credit there. I swung and missed. I took Landon Dickerson at 31, and I think he ended up going 35 or something. Not too long after, but they ended up going
the Eagles.
Yeah, they ended up going OA. And check out our OA breakdown. We do break him down as well and give a more in-depth breakdown on him as well. But getting to Bateman, first thing I want to say is, does Eric DeCosta get anybody off his back by the fact that he's taken a receiver in the first round 2 of the first 3 years as the official GM of the team? Do you think he gets any of the fans off his back?
I don't want. Obviously, we still want you guys to watch our videos, but I don't want anyone in our chat talking about defund the defense, talking about this, that, and the other. Lamar's got no weapons. It's not the case, ladies and gentlemen. He's got one of the best backfields in the NFL, and now he's got the Marquise Brown, Sammy Watkins, Devin Duvernay, and Mark Andrews, and now Rashod Bateman. That is a quality tool set, right? Yep. That's a quality quiver that he's got back there off his back. So yeah, I think that Eric DeCosta has shut that door. He's probably a little tired of it and glad that it's shut for a while.
Yeah, and I don't think for a second that this means he's gonna be done taking swings at the wide receiver position. Yeah. Maybe in this draft, but definitely not going forward. All right, so let's get into it. So I was able to go in and watch some more film. Obviously, this is a guy I studied already, so I just had to further up some of that. And the thing that jumps right off the page to you is his route running. I mean, this guy is so impressive as a route runner. I mean, the thing that's unique about him is that when we heard Mark Andrews come out and Nick Boyle was asked, what does Mark Andrews do that's so well, and he said the way he uses deception in his routes. Rashod Bateman already has a full understanding on how to set up defenders with his route running. It's amazing. He's not a guy that just runs every route 100 miles an hour. He understands to change speeds, to set guys up, to use that deception that we see all the great route runners around the league, take advantage of. I mean, this guy can sell a slant route and turn it into a sluggo in no time at all if you over pursue. I mean, this guy is just He's just so far beyond what you normally see as from a route tree standpoint from a wide receiver coming out. That it's impressive, man. And I know that Keith Williams is got to be, already pretty impressed with what he's seeing, and just he's got to be thinking, man, what can I turn a guy who's already this polished into, and how quickly I can do it. So that's the first thing, is just his route running is exceptional. Exceptional.
Yeah, before you move on to the next thing, I want to add to that, because there was something that came to my mind when I dug in a little bit. And you'll have to bear with me as I'm making a player comparison to soccer. All right. Bear with me here. But as when I grew up playing soccer, my club coach would always say it's not about what you do with your feet. It's about how you change speed and change direction. So like guys dance with their feet, and that's all great. But if you're going the same place and at the same speed, it doesn't matter what you're doing with your feet, right? Yep. Lionel Messi isn't super I mean, he's incredibly fancy, but if you compare him to some other guys, he's not fancy with his feet. But in the same way that Rashod Bateman is, the change in speed and change in direction with deception is masterful. Yep. I mean, it is. You're absolutely right. Masterful. It's so cool to watch a kid that young, like you're saying, just understand when to slow down, when to take it off a little bit, and when to hit the gas. It's definitely impressive. I'll agree with you there.
Yeah, and when he puts his foot in the dirt, that man can cut on an absolute dime. So really impressed, first and foremost, by his route running. Then you look at his home run speed. This guy can take a slant, outrun angles on the safety, and be gone for, a 60-yard touchdown in no time at all. I mean, he's got all the speed you would need from that position. No doubt about that. So extremely excited to see what he can do once he gets the ball in. I'm not just talking fly route speed. I'm talking get the ball in his hands and let's see what he can do. He'll make top 10 catches, Jimbo. We're in a long time in Baltimore, we didn't see a lot of top 10 plays on ESPN. Right. That we're seeing the purple until Lamar Jackson came to Baltimore. Then we kind of got used to seeing it, but it was mainly from number 8, occasionally from Andrews. I know he had a one-handed touchdown that made, I think, top play last year. But this guy is going to give an opportunity to see a lot more purple in the top 10 plays, because this guy can make the one-handed catch, that spectacular catch. He can adjust to the deep ball. I mean, he'll contort his body in acrobatic ways to high point that ball. The ball is underthrown. It doesn't matter. He goes after the ball at the highest point. So
now let me ask you this about that, because I want to make another player comp. Back in the day, the Ravens wanted to draft Dez Bryant. Now, this kid in his game is not Dez Bryant. It's not a one-for-one comparison. But the comparison I'll make here is that Dez is not 6'6". He's not 6'4", right? Dez is I think he's only 6'2", if I'm not mistaken. 6'2", only 6'2". But Dez is a master at high pointing the ball, at playing big, right? And he's a bigger body guy. But I agree with you. So, like, another thing that I noticed, you were talking about the top 10 plays. He uses every inch of that frame, every inch of that wingspan. He plays really big, just like Dez does, right? Like you're saying, those contested catches. Hopefully Lamar now has a wider catch radius that he can chuck that ball to, and know that Rashod Perryman is going to go. Rashod Perryman. Oh my gosh. Oh my
late,
gosh.
Guys, after midnight.
Rashod Bateman is going to go get it, right?
Yeah,
Hopefully that's not. That's not a Freudian slip there. Oh
gosh.
Yeah, but anyway, that was another one that came to my mind as well. Just the ability it has that he plays with it. Who cares what his size is? I mean, obviously it's important, but he plays with all of it, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we see a guy on the roster right now, Miles Boykin, who has that prototypical size, but plays so much smaller. Bateman plays way bigger than Miles Boykin, despite the, what the numbers will tell you. Also, he's got good moves in the open field. I mean, he'll juke you. He'll use his speed to run by you. Not real physical with the ball in his hands. But
dead leg, dude. The dead leg.
Yeah, he's crafty on how he gets. So he is a master at the yak yards, despite the fact that he doesn't necessarily do it with like that functional strength. He's not stiff arming guys to the ground now, but he's shifty. He's got the speed, and I'm interested to see what he can do with the ball in his hands at this next level, because there's going to be a lot of open field in Baltimore, and thanks to Mr. Lamar Jackson. So also, he's good at getting open when the quarterback's improvising and trying to buy time. I love that about him. I mean, he'll run a route and see that his quarterback's running out to the right-hand side or left-hand side, and the way he sets up the defender just to come back to the court, I mean, it's just masterful. The way he sets guys up and just makes himself available to the quarterback, comes back to the ball. A lot of guys will they'll wait for the ball to get to them. No, he fights his way back to the ball, ensuring that he's the one who's first to it and not the defender. I love that about him. The one thing I'll say is, as far as stuff he needs to work on, I did see some concentration drops, but they don't really concern me that much because of all the spectacular catches he did make. And the drops I saw, because I did see I think I saw like 6 drops overall in all the games I watched. But they a lot of times it was just him trying to make, that extra play, trying to get them yak yards and taking his eyes off the ball. I didn't see like an issue with hands. But he still needs to clean those up because the drop ball in the NFL a lot of times leads to a punt, and we don't want to see that in Baltimore. Another thing he has to work on, he's got to get a little bit stronger as a blocker. I saw him get pancaked out there. It's not necessarily a strong suit in his game, but the good news is they addressed it in his opening press conference, and he recognized when they asked him what he needs to work on, he pointed to that he needs to work on that and to get better at that. So I'm confident that he will. And look, he doesn't need to do too much. Just shield him, get in the way. I'm not asking him to go out there and pancake guys, but just do enough to get in the defender's way. And then the last thing I say he has to work on, it's interesting. His release, he's really good at mixing up his releases, and he's got like a little bit of a crossover at the line of scrimmage, but he has a wide stance, which causes him to have this little hitch in his step. He has a little half step before every single break, every single one. He has a little half step. But that's the good news. We got Keith Williams here. And, we got a guy who can clean that up in no time. So I'm confident because if they fix that,
yep.
I mean, then he's going to be even crazier once he gets out there. So I'm super excited. And the last couple things I have here, which is interesting. He averaged 12.4 yards per target, not per catch,
right?
Per target, which was 5th in the nation. And get this, he had 88% of his. He had an 88.3% first down rate, which was 1st in the nation. So 88% of his catches went for a first down. So the guy is a chain mover, and let me tell you, he makes guys look silly if they one-on-one man cover him. I mean, absolutely silly. I saw him drop a guy with a release, and all he ran was a hitch. The ball didn't even get thrown his way. He shook a guy and dropped the corner on his backside like a crossover in basketball. The ball never came his way, so you're not going to really see it on a highlight reel, but he literally dropped the guy by no contact, just juked him off the line and sat him down. So I mean, the more I watch, the more I dive in. Yeah, he doesn't have that overwhelming strength that you see from some of these big time number 1 receivers like AJ Green, DK Metcalf, Julio Jones. But man, as a route runner, this guy is so polished. And I think the Ravens organization was tired of seeing guys. Greg Roman touched on it. He said, I'm not going to have to pull him aside. And why didn't you break this route shorter? Why didn't you, cut this over here when you should have? He said, I'm not going to have those conversations because this guy already has such a mature understanding of the position.
Right. Yeah, man. I'm really excited to see this kid. To me, I'm all about the player comps tonight, but this could be, I don't know what your thoughts are on this one, but a Calvin Ridley type, end of the first round, ultra productive in the NFL, because just like you said, when guys depend on their technical skills, usually I feel like their output is more consistently sustained, right? Because athletic guys depend on certain things. So if a matchup doesn't fall their way, or if they're hurt, or athletically as their speed or strength wanes, but this kid I think is going to be consistent, like a Calvin, who they're just technicians, running routes.
Yep.
And so, man, I'm really excited about this. I also think that this is a huge deal because this takes a lot of pressure off Hollywood Brown, and I think he's going to absolutely flourish. Because now what do? You got Mark Andrews. You got the best running game in NFL history, right? You got Ben Cleveland, who's going to be, who was I was talking about in our live show, Fluker, how he has frozen toddlers in the fridge that he just pulls out and eats for breakfast. No, he's hanging out with Ben Cleveland. I mean, these guys are eating babies, whatever it is. It's just ridiculous. So we had the best running game in NFL history. Yeah. And you got Mark Andrews, and out wide, you got Hollywood Brown, who at the drop of a hat is going to be 80 yards down the field. And then you got absolute technician on the other side with Rashod Bateman. What do you do? So these guys, like you said, it's just about winning your matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I tell you what.
Yeah, who else can guarantee one-on-one coverage on the outside other than the Baltimore Ravens? And this guy eats man-to-man coverage for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they were done with the guys that just didn't get enough separation. This guy, that's what he does. He gets separation. So, and by the way, there was a lot of times where he had tons of. I mean, nobody even near him. And the ball was so poorly thrown, and he still made the adjustment, came back to it, went up and got it, and a lot of times made even more out of it. Yeah, well, I mean, but he still made the catch. And
right.
That's what's fun. I mean, he had 20 yards one time, and that's how it was so poorly underthrown that he had to moss two guys just to get back to it. So I actually wrote the word goosebumps down watching this guy run routes. So that's how excited I got.
Now, what do you think? So this means they're carrying 6, or does this and Victor and Kane are, kind of their doors kind of shut on them, or do you think that Boykin is on the bubble?
I think Boykin might have to find himself on the bubble. They talk about what competition is. That's what they talked about when they introduced Rashod Bateman, when they asked Greg Roman about it. And he said, competition is what we look for here in Baltimore. And get ready for some competition, Miles, because it's up to, in my opinion, as outlandish as it might be to expect the Ravens to maybe, give up on a guy that's a recent, third-round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that he's competing with Ben Victor and Deon Cain. If Deon Cain and Ben Victor have a better camp and better preseason, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see them move on from Boykin, despite the fact that that'd be kind of unprecedented in their franchise history.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting because Eric just talked about in the post draft presser that they got a lot of guys, even at another position, which will affect wide receiver, but the interior offensive line, they got a lot of guys there that are all going to compete, that are all, except, Macari, are relatively high to mid-round draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of spots that they want to keep as many guys as possible. And so certainly it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to that wide receiver room. But man, so what is your grade? I'm giving it, without waiting and seeing, because you can always say wait and see. Right now, with the value that they got, after seeing his excitement for wanting to be here in Baltimore, me believing that it's genuine, digging into his tape a little more, watching how much, whether he's 6 foot or 6'2", it doesn't matter. The way he uses his frame is what's important to me.
Yep.
And like you said, his technical ability to get open, I give it an A, solid A there at 27. What do you give it?
It's tough for me to give it anything lower than A-, Jimbo. And that's because it's an area of need. It's a guy that has the potential to grow into that number one that you're looking for. And we needed to have another guy that Lamar Jackson trusts on the outside. Let's be honest. He trusts Hollywood. He trusts Andrews. We don't know if he trusts anybody else other than that. I think he's going to trust Rashod Bateman. So for that reason, I give it an A-. And I'm just excited to see them, get a hold of him and see what this guy can is as polished as he is. I think he's going to take that big of a leap when we have what I think is the best receiver coach, around in Keith Williams. And then, by the way, T. Martin is pretty darn good too in his own right, and he's also on the staff. So I'm excited to see what they can do with this kid. But let us know what you guys think. We had a night to digest the Rashod Bateman pick. I'm sure you guys have been looking at everything you can to find, news about him. Let us know what you guys think. Was this a good pick? Will he develop into the number one that Ravens fans have been looking for a long, long time? And we'll talk to you guys